People often underestimate the impact they have on others, especially the people who trusted them. They think that walking away is just leaving. It's not. It's an act that tears through the fabric of someone's world, and if you don't understand that, then you haven't yet grasped the moral weight of human relationships. When you walked away from her, maybe you thought you were doing the right thing. Maybe you told yourself, she'll be fine, or it's better this way, but that's the story we tell ourselves to escape responsibility. Because deep down, you know that when someone loves you, when they believe in you, their heart becomes intertwined with yours. And to leave without care, without explanation, without courage, that's not strength. That's cowardice disguised as freedom. See, we live in an age where people think detachment is wisdom. Don't get too involved. They say, protect your peace. But that's not wisdom, that's fear, it's avoidance. Because being truly involved with someone, allowing yourself to matter to them, that's dangerous. It means you're now capable of hurting them. It means you carry their heart in your hands. And that's exactly why it's sacred. You messed her up by walking away because you taught her something about trust, that it's fragile. You showed her that love can vanish without warning, and that people who say, I'll be there, sometimes mean, until it's inconvenient. You broke a part of her that believed in goodness. And that's not nothing. That's not something you just shrug off. Now listen, this isn't about guilt for the sake of guilt. It's about understanding. It's about recognizing the consequences of your actions, because that's where redemption begins. You can't heal what you won't face. If you ran because you were scared, then admit it. If you left because you didn't want the responsibility, then say that to yourself. Tell the truth, even if it breaks you. Because truth, no matter how painful, is the only path back to integrity. And maybe, just maybe, when you understand what your absence did, when you grasp the gravity of what it means to be needed by someone, you'll become the kind of person who doesn't run next time. The kind of person who stays, who fights, who shoulders the burden of being important in someone else's life. That's what maturity is. It's not detachment. It's not the illusion of self-sufficiency. It's the courage to say, I'm responsible for the effect I have on others. So yes, you messed her up, but you can learn from that. You can become the man who doesn't leave wreckage behind him. You can turn regret into resolve, guilt into growth. That's what redemption looks like, because the world doesn't need more people who run. It needs people who stay. Who choose love even when it's hard. Who understand that to care for someone deeply is to carry a weight, but that weight, properly shouldered, gives life meaning. So stand up straight. Face what you've done. Learn from it. Then become someone worthy of trust again. That's how you make it right. That's how you rise. Walking away is an escape. It's avoidance disguised as freedom. You tell yourself it's liberation, that you're reclaiming your peace, your independence, your identity. You convince yourself that stepping away is a sign of strength, that you're taking control of your life again. But that's the deception, because what looks like freedom in the moment often turns out to be avoidance wearing a noble mask. You walk away not because you're strong enough to leave, but because you're too afraid to stay, too afraid to confront the discomfort, the conflict, the responsibility that comes with being truly involved with another person. Freedom isn't the absence of responsibility, it's the mastery of it. When you walk away under the illusion of freedom, what you're really doing is running from the uncomfortable truth that you might have contributed to the pain, the confusion, or the chaos that exists between you and someone else. Walking away allows you to preserve your pride without confronting your flaws. It gives you the illusion of clarity without requiring you to face the complexity of human relationships. It's easier to leave than to admit you failed. It's easier to let go than to grow up. We live in a culture that glorifies detachment. We're told to cut off toxic people, to protect our energy, to walk away from anyone who challenges our comfort. And sure, sometimes that's necessary, but often it's just a convenient way of justifying cowardice. You call it boundaries, but it's really avoidance. You call it peace, but it's really the silence that comes after running away from something you didn't want to deal with. You don't heal by abandoning what's difficult. You heal by facing it, by understanding it, by taking responsibility for your role in it. When you walk away without understanding, without reflection, without the courage to look back and ask yourself, what did I do to contribute to this? You don't escape the problem. You just carry it into the next relationship, the next friendship, the next chapter of your life. The unresolved pattern follows you. The same arguments appear with new faces, the same wounds reopen under new circumstances, and you begin to realize that the thing you were trying to escape wasn't the other person. It was you. Avoidance masquerades as freedom because it feels good in the short term. It relieves the pressure. It gives you a rush of self-justification, a story that makes you the hero. But real freedom is earned, and it's costly. It requires you to confront yourself honestly, to admit your weaknesses, to see how your actions have shaped someone else's pain. The moment you take that responsibility, the illusion of escape collapses. You realize that walking away didn't make you free. It made you smaller. It made your world narrower, your understanding shallower, and your capacity for love weaker. True strength doesn't come from walking away. It comes from staying long enough to understand. It comes from having the courage to endure discomfort, to navigate misunderstanding, to confront your own selfishness. The person who can stand in the middle of conflict, hold their ground, and still act with integrity, that person is free. Because they're no longer controlled by fear. They're not ruled by the need to run from pain or protect their ego. They've transcended avoidance. They've learned that growth requires friction and love requires endurance. You can't call it freedom when you're still running from yourself. The illusion of escape is temporary, but the consequences of avoidance linger. Every time you walk away without reflection, you reinforce the habit of emotional retreat. You become more skilled at disappearing and less capable of connection. You trade intimacy for safety, depth for comfort, responsibility for pride, and slowly, without realizing it, you build a life that looks peaceful on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. Because real peace isn't found by avoiding struggle. It's found by mastering it. Love carries responsibility. Your absence leaves lasting damage. When you choose to love someone, you accept a certain moral weight, whether you acknowledge it or not. To be loved is to be trusted, to be relied upon, to be seen as a part of someone's emotional foundation. That's not a casual thing. It means your words carry power, your actions have consequence, and your presence provides stability. When you decide to walk away, you don't just remove yourself from a situation, you remove the sense of safety that person built around you. You take a piece of their certainty with you. People don't fall apart because someone left, they fall apart because someone they believed in vanished. When you love someone, you become part of their story. They begin to define parts of themselves through that connection. Their sense of belonging, their perception of worth, their understanding of what love means. When you suddenly disappear, you create a vacuum where trust used to live. You leave questions that don't have answers and wounds that don't heal quickly because the loss isn't just physical, it's existential. Responsibility in love isn't about ownership, it's about awareness. It's knowing that your influence doesn't end when the relationship does. The way you leave shapes how they'll approach love again, how they'll handle vulnerability, how they'll measure their own value. When you abandon someone carelessly, you teach them that love is conditional, that affection can vanish without reason, that stability is an illusion. That kind of damage lingers in the corners of the heart. It makes people wary, hesitant, harder to reach. Love then isn't just about how you show up. It's also about how you choose to leave and whether your absence carries grace or destruction. Truth and accountability are the first steps toward redemption. There's a moment, often quiet and uncomfortable, when you have to look yourself in the mirror and acknowledge what you've done. It's the moment when excuses lose their power, when you stop defending your actions and start examining them. Most people avoid that moment because it hurts. It threatens the image they've built of themselves. But the truth is the only ground solid enough to rebuild on. Without it, you're just constructing another illusion. Another story that keeps you safe from reality. Accountability isn't about shame, it's about alignment. It's about bringing your actions, your words, and your values into harmony. When you take responsibility for the pain you've caused, you're not just admitting guilt, you're reclaiming your integrity. You're saying, I won't hide behind my justifications anymore. That's where growth begins. Without accountability, you stay trapped in cycles of denial. You repeat mistakes, you hurt new people the same way you hurt the last, and you keep wondering why life feels hollow. Redemption doesn't come from pretending the past didn't happen. It comes from facing it with honesty and humility, When you tell the truth, not the softened, convenient version, but the real, unfiltered truth, you open the door to transformation. You start to see yourself clearly, flaws and all, and that awareness becomes the foundation for change. You can't heal what you refuse to confront, and you can't move forward while carrying lies. Truth strips away the illusion of control, but it also restores your humanity. Accountability gives that truth direction. Together, they form the path out of regret, not by erasing the past, but by learning how to live differently because of it. Maturity means owning the impact you have on others. It's realizing that your actions don't exist in isolation, that every word you speak and every choice you make ripples outward into the lives of people who trust you. Immaturity hides behind the illusion of autonomy, the idea that you can live however you want without consequence. But life doesn't work that way. You don't get to decide whether or not you affect people. You only get to decide whether that impact will be careless or conscious. Owning your impact means accepting that you are responsible for the emotional footprint you leave behind. It's about recognizing that silence can wound, indifference can scar, and absence can break something inside another person. The mature person doesn't deny this truth, they carry it with humility. They understand that relationships require awareness, that love demands attention, and that being part of someone's life means you hold a kind of power, the power to build or to destroy. This kind of ownership takes courage because it forces you to look beyond your intentions and confront your results. You might not have meant to hurt someone, but the fact that you did still matters. Maturity doesn't hide behind excuses like, "That's not what I meant." It asks, "What did my actions cause?" It requires empathy strong enough to feel the weight of another person's pain without collapsing into self-pity. When you reach that level of awareness, you stop treating people as temporary experiences and start treating them as souls connected to yours. You begin to measure your behavior not by what's easiest for you, but by what's right for them. That's the point where selfishness ends and genuine responsibility begins, where growth stops being theoretical and starts becoming visible. Real strength is staying, not running, when love gets hard. Anyone can be present when things are easy, when affection flows naturally and life feels harmonious. But the true test of character comes when misunderstandings pile up, when resentment begins to whisper, when the weight of commitment starts to press against your comfort. That's when the weak flee and the strong endure. Staying doesn't mean submitting to pain or accepting toxicity. It means choosing courage over convenience. It means recognizing that love isn't a feeling to be preserved, but a discipline to be practiced. To stay when it's hard is to face the parts of yourself that want to give up. It's to confront your impatience, your pride, your tendency to withdraw when things stop going your way. Love isn't a refuge from struggle. It's the place where you learn how to struggle well. When you stay, you learn patience. You learn forgiveness. You learn that true connection isn't about finding someone perfect, but about building something durable with someone imperfect. You grow not by escaping conflict, but by transforming it into understanding. Running gives the illusion of relief, but it steals the opportunity for growth. Every time you walk away when love gets uncomfortable, you reinforce the habit of avoidance. You teach yourself that commitment is conditional, that endurance is optional, that the moment something hurts, it's time to go. But the strongest people understand that staying doesn't trap you. It refines you. It shapes your soul through the friction of honesty and the discipline of compassion. Real love is built in the moments that test your resolve, in the decision to hold on when your emotions scream to run, and in the quiet strength of choosing presence over escape.